Chapter 221, A Firm Choice. That's outrageous. I'm sick and you're still so angry at me. Are you saying that I'm not dying fast enough, you brat? Zashimi cursed from her wheelchair. Grandma, don't be angry now that you're like this. Watch your tongue, Anran smiled and said. Because of her illness, Zashimi felt weak and didn't have the strength to stand, so she could only sit in the wheelchair and be angry. At this moment, Lan Tingyang was busy looking for Lan Tingyi. Tingyang, why are you here? Is Mom dying? Shu Yanshan asked agitatedly. No, I found a job for Tingyi and Mom is doing well. I told Mom about this. I would like to ask him about it. Tingyang looked inside. Hurry in, Tingyang, hurry. Shu Yanshan greeted him enthusiastically. Tingyi, I have a job at the hospital. Would you be willing? Tingyang smiled. I'm not going to wash the toilets. Tingyi was the first to refuse. No, this job only takes night shifts. Tingyang probed. What? Looking at Tingyang's nervous expression, Shu Yanshan wondered if it was a good job. It's in the hospital, watching the mortuary. You're usually going to be in charge of registration and handover. The salary is high, but you need to be a little braver. Tingyi looked at Tingyang, seemingly dissatisfied. You want me to look after the dead? Tingyi asked, dissatisfied. You're a doctor too. You have to respect the dead. The night shift needs people and time is free. Why don't you take a look? Tingyang continued to explain. No. What kind of job are you looking for? Can't you just give your brother a proper job? What kind of job is it that it looks after the dead? It's so horrifying in the middle of the night. Tingyi was disgusted. Tingyang, is the night shift's pay high? Shu Yanshan asked. Not bad. 8,000 to 9,000 a month. Tingyang thought for a moment. Sure, I'll discuss it with your brother. Shu Yanshan smiled, looking satisfied. Alright, go to the hospital to work if you can, and Mom misses Tingyi, so you can visit her when you're free. She misses you guys a lot, Tingyang added. Alright. After Shu Yanshan sent Tingyang home, she started to scheme against him. Tingyi, I think this will do, Shu Yanshan smiled and said. What? You can go if you want. Tingyi waved his hand in dissatisfaction. Listen to me. The hospital's mortuary is a good place. How long has it been since you last touched a scalpel? There are dead people in the mortuary that don't know how to speak. Who would know if you slit their wounds? After we're done with these dead people and our skills have improved, we'll go to another hospital to work so that we won't have to suffer from tension here. Just treat it as an overtime operation. How is that? Shu Yanshan's eyes are full of ideas. You sure are something, Tingyi praised. Of course, Shu Yanshan smiled and said. After leaving Tingyi's house, Tingyang went back. The moment he entered, he saw Zashimi sobbing. Mom, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Tingyang comforted her. That unfiled daughter of yours is angering me to death. She didn't let me off even after I bled yesterday. Zashimi was aggrieved. What's wrong? Anran, come out. Tingyi shouted upstairs. Uncle, Grandma was angry with her. She was caught stealing the test papers in school. It's my fault, too. I told Grandma about this. Grandma only said a few words to her and she was upset. So she retorted, it's my fault. Yaxin's words infuriated Tingyang. What, steal test papers? He asked in disbelief. Good sister, you speak so quickly. Anran came down as she heard the voice. Anran, what happened? Tingyang asked solemnly. He didn't believe his daughter would do such a thing. Dad, do you believe her or me? Anran asked with a faint smile. Dad, I believe Sis didn't steal it. You saw the pharmacy competition. Sis is in first place. Is there a need to be afraid of a midterm exam? Someone must have framed her. The news of Anran stealing the test papers had been spread throughout the Arts Academy, and now everyone knew that it was his sister. Although he couldn't hold his head up high, he believed that his sister wouldn't do such a thing. Framed? Tingyang's expression was solemn. Frame her? The test paper was found under the brat's desk and she is still trying to defend herself? The Lan family is humiliated. Zashimi wiped her mucus. Grandma, you didn't see it in person. Are you saying that the person who framed her is going to stuff the test paper into her hand in front of everyone? Yanran was upset. Bastard, how dare you rebut me? Zashumi cursed. Yanran, I think there's something fishy about this. I don't believe my daughter would do such a thing. I'll explain it to the school. I believe in my daughter, Ting Young said firmly. It was the first time Yanran had given him such a firm choice, and she was a little touched. Chapter 222, Late Night Infiltration. Dad, it's alright. I will find that fiend myself. Besides, I already know the identity of the fiend. We only need to wait for her to admit it. She looked at Yaxin as she spoke. Why are you looking at me for? I didn't do it. I'm going home, Grandma, Uncle. Yaxin was quick, afraid that she would give herself away. Remember to get your parents to visit me, Zashumi cried. Mom, we'll have to find out more about this. Anran didn't mean to rebuke you just now, Ting Young explained. I am seriously ill, and I can only live for a few more days. I think this brat is waiting for me to die. Zashumi snorted. Mom, we can't make a decision so early without a thorough investigation. I'll tell you good news, and you'll be happy. Ting Young comforted her with a smile. What? Is there any news about the house? Zashumi asked. It's about Tingy, he agreed. The expression on Ting Young's face when Xu Yanshan indicated that he would most likely agree to it. Really? That's great. Zashumi felt refreshed. They will come to visit you soon. Ting Young was overjoyed. What about the house? Zashumi said. I haven't raised the money for the house yet. Why don't I borrow it from the Lan family's distant relatives? Ting Young asked deliberately. Forget it. You're the richest person in the Lan family. The others are poor. Who can lend it to you? Zashumi had no choice, as she said. Grandma, now that Uncle has a job, shouldn't the 5 million be on the agenda? Grandma, now that Uncle has a job, shouldn't the 5 million be on the agenda? Anran smiled and asked. Anran, why are you bringing this up now? Your grandma is ill. Ting Young was dissatisfied. Grandma is ill, but Uncle is well. Even blood-related brothers have to settle accounts. It's only right to repay debts. Why can't I say anything? It's not like I'm asking you for your money. Grandma, don't be agitated. Anran smiled. You... Zashumi was so agitated that she seemed to cough, as if she really had a lung disease. Anran, you should have mentioned this behind Grandma's back. Aren't you just provoking her? Ting Young pulled Anran to the side. Dad, it's good that you know. Grandma may be sick now, but she's still protective of Uncle. What will happen to Uncle if Grandma dies? That's why the 5 million is a form of stress, one that will give motivation for Uncle, Anran explained. Ting Young thought about it and agreed. There is no such thing as a free meal in this world. This 5 million yuan would teach his brother a lesson so that he could work well. Mom, you're sick. Go back and eat your medicine and sleep. I'm going to cook. Ting Young smiled and let Anran push her back to the room. Dad, the caregiver aunt will be here soon. You don't have to cook, Yanran said. It's alright, just fire the caregiver. Your mom and I know how to cook. The hospital hasn't been busy yet recently, so we don't need a caregiver. Ting Young entered the high kitchen as he spoke. Upstairs, Anran smiled at Zashumi. Grandma, you need to rest well. You might not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Her smile was horrifying to Zashumi. What do you want? Someone. Anran is trying to kill. Zashumi shouted in shock. Grandma, don't make a noise. Shush. Hurry and sleep. Anran covered Zashumi's mouth and smiled. Sis, what's wrong? Yanran walked over to have a look. It's alright, I'm feeding Grandma her medicine. Anran smiled and fed some vitamins to Zashumi. Sis Wang told me just now that Fugu Xing seemed to have been banned from the industry and is in a hurry to get help from his backer. Yanran smiled happily. He was willing to share anything with his sister now. Really? That's great. Evil doesn't prevail over good. Anran smiled and helped Zashumi lay down. At this moment, Zashumi couldn't hear anything from the outside world because she was hypnotized. Will you be able to film and get back to work soon? Anran asked. Yeah, it's about time, but Sis Wang said I would have to wait a while longer. She wants me to contact the investor. I heard that she will bring me to the banquet in 2 days. Yanran was excited. Banquet? What banquet? Yanran asked curiously. I heard that it is a banquet hosted by the Zhao family in order to celebrate Old Master Zhao's retirement and to help Zhao Han rise to power. There are many big shots around. Yanran had heard from Wang King, but Yanran had never heard Zhao Xiaolei mention it. It's getting late. Let's go back to bed. A star can't lose his looks. Yanran frowned. She turned back to see that Zhao Shimi had fallen asleep and left. Late at night, Yanran couldn't sleep and turned on her computer. Just then, she received a text from Fatty. Boss, we're back and we're going into the research institute now. Be careful. Call me if you need anything. Yanran reminded him. Fatty and Skinny went to the research institute. Fatty infiltrated while Skinny guarded the inspection mechanism. Damn it, this place is so eerie, Fatty whispered into his earpiece. Chapter 223. Found it? Fatty, there's infrared light ahead. Be careful. I'm cracking it. Skinny's computer skills were not as good as Yanran's, but he could still crack the program. Okay, let's move forward. Boss wants to know the secrets of the Research Institute, so let's take a look at the core research room, Skinny commanded. We need the passcode for this. Fatty looked at it, took out a piece of tape, placed it on the fingerprint unlocker, pressed it, and it cleared. He entered the laboratory smoothly. There wasn't anything special here besides some mice. What was worthy of Fatty's attention was a pile of experimental data on the table, which was related to heart disease. He couldn't understand it, so he took some photos and stored them in his phone. He then looked around and saw that there wasn't anything worthy of note. When he wanted to come out, he found that it was easy to enter but difficult to leave. One had to use their voice recognition, so Fatty couldn't imitate it. Damn it. I'm not going to die here. Skinny, hurry up, Fatty urged in his earpiece. Don't rush me. I'm trying to do my best, too. Skinny was using the computer to change Fatty's voice, making it identical to the one in the laboratory. Unfortunately, it was too difficult, and Fatty had been locked in there for more than 10 minutes. What happened? Are you done? Fatty lowered his voice and spoke anxiously. No, I'll find Boss. Wait for me. Skinny's skills hadn't reached pro level yet, so he could only look for Yanran. After 5 minutes, Yanran had made the voice of Fatty the same as the one in the database. Boss, you're so awesome, Skinny praised. Hurry and send me the photos. Yanran was anxious. Fatty sent the photos to Yanran. Boss, did you find anything? I don't understand those things either, Fatty said. These are experimental data of the heart attack medicine on the mice. The results don't seem good. All the mice died after the medicine was used, and some convulsed violently. This is wrong. Yanran was perplexed. Boss, everyone in the Wrong City Medical Research Institute knows that they research biochemical medicine, but heart disease medicine is not approved here. They are secretly researching it with ulterior motives. Fatty was puzzled. Yanran looked at the images carefully. They were all chemical, molecular patterns and some conclusions. She frowned. She had read the purpose of Mojinrong's medicine. Was this Mojinrong's plan? Fatty, go and check if there are any recent cases of heart attacks resulting from the effects of the medicine, especially those involving the court and the Public Security Bureau. Yanran messaged. She had a hunch that there was a relationship between Mojinrong and Shang Taiyan. Boss, are we still investigating Shang Taiyan? Fatty asked curiously. Investigate it together with Mojinrong. I suspect that there's something wrong with them. At least they know each other. Yanran's expression was solemn. In her past life, she knew that Mojinrong was busy with work every day, but she didn't know what he was doing. She didn't expect him to have so many secrets. Since he wasn't willing to tell her, she would have to find out for herself. 2 more days had passed, and the thief still hadn't been found. The dean thought that Yanran was stalling for time and suggested expelling her. Dean, it's only been 2 days. Let's wait a little longer. Liu persuaded him. What are you waiting for? The other school has finished their exams, and we haven't started ours. He frowned angrily. Ayn Rand is a liar, the teacher at the side said. That doesn't make sense. Ayn Rand is the best student in the school. There's no need for her to steal questions. Think about it. The lock isn't broken. Someone must have known the passwords. Who did you tell? Liu continued. He shook his head, not remembering who he told. I usually keep the passcode to myself. Who can I tell? The dean was confused. He really didn't know when the person obtained the passcode. Dean, I know how to catch the thief. Ayn Rand walked in. You know, you're the suspect. Is your idea reliable? The principal was puzzled. The suspect's words weren't convincing. Let's give it a try. Ayn Rand was very confident. Not long after, the school's radio rang with the principal's voice. Students, there has been a theft incident in the Wrong City University's medical academy. Everyone who received the news that the test paper was stolen knows about this. Now we have identified the suspect, and, in accordance with the principle of honesty, we hope that you will step forward. Otherwise, we will personally arrest and expel you. We found that the students' things at the scene and placed them in the Education Bureau. We hope that you will take the initiative to admit and come over to accept them. After the principal's announcement, the entire school was in an uproar. Everyone thought that the thief was Ayn Rand, and many ridiculed her. Then, Ayn Rand, why aren't you turning yourself in? When Lian Chao heard the announcement, she ran over to ridicule her. Ayn Rand ignored her and turned to return to the classroom. Chapter 224, Going Back Again. Ayn Rand, is what the principal said true? Zhao Xiaolei asked. Ayn Rand smiled, suddenly remembering the Zhao family banquet. Is the Zhao family having a banquet? Yeah, how did you know? My dad is celebrating his retirement, and he is helping my brother get promoted. He is hosting a Durban banquet to help my brother find more resources and introduce his connections. Zhao Xiaolei spoke casually. She was the only daughter of the Zhao family, and her brother was brought over from the Welfare Institute. He had a good character, was willing to work hard and improve. Coincidentally, she wasn't interested in business, so her father let her brother take over. On the surface, he said that he would help Zhao Xiaolei take care of the family business, but in reality, everyone who knew would understand that he wanted to hand the family business over to Zhao Han. Will you be going too? Ayn Rand asked seriously. I'm just going to join in the fun. My dad wants me to see if there's any suitable young masters from prestigious families at the banquet. Even if I don't have someone that I like, we can still be friends, as long as it's beneficial to the company. I have to attend. Zhao Xiaolei was helpless. Ayn Rand didn't speak, wondering if she should go too. Wouldn't her identity be exposed if she went? But she feared that her brother would be bullied if she didn't go. Yaxin and the others from the other class were extremely nervous. Did you drop something? Yaxin asked casually. I don't think so. We didn't miss anything. Guki thought about her things nervously. There really wasn't anything missing. It can't be. Were we discovered? It can't be. Yanking was a little scared. I told you not to, but you insisted that it was all right. Great, now we're exposed. We're going to be expelled, Guki grumbled. You didn't object when I said it, but now you're blaming me? Yanking was furious. Stop fighting. The most important thing now is to find out what's in the office and whether it's detrimental to us. Yaxin looked at them impatiently. These two pieces of trash only knew how to cause trouble for her and even implicated her. Then what should we do? Guki looked around nervously. Don't act like a thief. What should we do? We can only go take a look again. Yaxin thought for a while and said, Now? What if it's a trap? Guki spoke again. Are you stupid? We'll take action at night. Don't we know the passcode? Yanking knocked Guki's head. Don't be so nervous. Even the dean can't catch us. He still has to go home tonight, right? Yaxin smiled. Good. Guki comforted herself. Yaxin rolled her eyes at the two people in front of her. These two idiots, they can't do anything. It was dark and there was no one in the school. Yaxin brought the two of them out of the classroom and spoke softly. The two of you should hurry. There isn't anyone left now, so let's see if it's yours. Otherwise, come out. Hurry. Yanqing walked forward carefully, unlocking the passcode secretly and walked in. She shone the flashlight around but didn't find anything. Guki, did you see that thing? Yanqing asked softly. No, perhaps that old thing took it away. Let's hurry, it's too scary. Guki was so frightened that her voice trembled. Useless person, how could you be so frightened? Yanqing sneered. Hurry! Yaxin hid in the corner and waved. The three of them hurried out of the school. The moment she returned home, she was scolded by Zhao Shumi. You brat, you don't do well outside and only know how to seduce men. Do you think you're so great after your divorce? Zhao Shumi pointed at Anran's forehead angrily and cursed. She wanted to stand up, but because she had been in the wheelchair for too long, her legs softened and she fell to the ground. Grandma, what did you say? Anran smiled, but didn't help Zhao Shumi up. You brat, hurry up and help me. You only know how to laugh at me. Look at this. Zhao Shumi threw the photos onto the ground. Anran lowered her head and saw it. It was a photo of her conversation with Lin Cheng. Someone had taken it and passed it to Zhao Shumi. The only person who could have done that was that cousin of hers. It's just a photo. I was talking to a classmate. It's nothing. Anran didn't mind. Nothing? You know what the others are saying about you on the school's forum? Yaxin showed it to me. You really are the Lan family's jinx. Zhao Shumi couldn't beat her, so she could only sit on the ground and curse. Forum? Anran took out her phone and looked at the forums. As expected, there were photos of her and Lin Cheng, and they were even captioned. The new school beauty and the rich second-generation heir and Lin Cheng look at each other with love. They meet at the staircase alone. There's definitely a big fish. There were all kinds of comments, most of which were jealousy, and many were attacking Anran. Good-looking people steal questions and seduce boys. What's so great about her? Is she worthy of showing off her wealth? I never expected her to be such a person. Anran was furious. She was completely innocent. What did it have to do with her? When Zhao Shumi saw Anran smile, she thought she was being too provocative and became even more furious. You have no manners. You just got a divorce and you're already seducing another man. I would break your legs if I was well, Zhao Shumi cursed. Chapter 225, Tingy's Visit. It's a pity, Grandma. You have terminal cancer, Anran sneered. Look, I'm telling your dad. How embarrassing. Zhao Shumi was disgusted. Grandma, you should discipline your good granddaughter. She is the disgrace. Anran smiled and walked upstairs. Shameless, Yaxin is so much better than you. Zhao Shumi cursed loudly. Tingy and Shu Yanshan walked in with a few bags of snacks and smiled. Mom, what are you complimenting Yaxin about? Shu Yanshan smiled and said. Zhao Shumi was ecstatic to see the two of them. She slapped her legs with all her might and looked at them with teary eyes. You're finally here, you heartless person. Mom, why are you sitting on the ground? Tingy hurriedly helped Zhao Shumi up. Zhao Shumi patted Tingy's chest with all her might. You heartless person, I'm being bullied here, and you don't even know how to come and see me? Hurry, I want to go home. I don't want to stay here. Zhao Shumi cried excitedly. Mom, were they mistreating you? Shu Yanshan was solemn. Don't worry about that. I don't want to stay here any longer. Now that the matter with the house is slowly resolved and Tingy's work is resolved, I want to go home. Zhao Shumi was pitiful. Shu Yanshan smiled. Mom, the matter with the house isn't settled yet. What if Ting Young regrets his job? Shu Yanshan comforted old Mrs. Lan. She didn't want to serve such a noisy old lady. She needed help. She would behave and act pitiful. If she had nothing to do, she would flaunt her abilities. She had served her enough. If she died in her house one day, she would be finished. He wouldn't dare. I'm a dying old lady. How could he not fulfill my wishes? Zhao Shumi opened her eyes wide. Mom, I think Yanshan is right. Anran is the best at playing tricks. I'm just afraid that she'll say something in front of Ting Young. His heart is soft. We can't be too careful, Tingy continued. But I don't want to stay here anymore. That brat is always picking on me. My life is short and I coughed up blood a few days ago. I don't know how many days left I have to live. I don't want to die. Sashimi started to cry. She was frightened enough when her old husband passed away, but now it was her turn to feel an unspeakable horror. Mom, didn't Ting Young buy you some imported medicine? How do you feel? Xu Yanshan asked. It's useless. My health is deteriorating day by day. Sashimi wiped her tears. Did Ting Young skimp on his work and didn't give Mom the right medicine? Xu Yanshan spoke deliberately. It can't be. Sashimi suddenly perked up. She didn't think that Ting Young would do this. Oh, you're being too much. Anran stood at the stairs and watched for a long time. Xu Yanshan was bent on picking a fight. Anran, you're here. Why isn't Mom better yet? Xu Yanshan looked up with a smile. Grandma's illness is cancer. If she recovers so quickly, wouldn't she be sent to the laboratory for research? Anran smiled. Xu Yanshan was speechless, but Tingy thought about it and spoke. I heard that Yaxin say that your incident blew up in school. Aren't you married to Mo Junrong? Why are you still flirting with other guys? Tingy wanted to anger Anran. Uncle, you're just following the clouds and don't have any opinions at all. Did you catch me having an affair, or have you seen it? Don't worry, you might live longer than Grandma. Anran wasn't angry, but mocked Tingy for being a busybody. Ignorant thing. Sashimi was still furious. Mom, don't lower yourself to Anran's level. Some people only know how to embarrass themselves. Xu Yanshan smiled and said, I don't have time to bicker with you. Close the door after you're done visiting. The Lan family isn't a place just anyone can enter. Anran looked at the two of them sarcastically and went upstairs with a smile. Such poor manners. Xu Yanshan was furious, but couldn't do anything. She could only curse. The next day, Anran and Yanran went to and from the school as usual. During this period, because of the test papers and Yanran's identity, many people surrounded the two siblings. The school suddenly became a star school, attracting the attention of many people. Anran, do you know that because of your brother, this school is going to be famous? It has been trending the past 2 days. Zhao Xiaolei smiled and said, Have you heard? The dean seems to have caught the thief and is preparing to pass judgment. The news Sun Hai heard from the office was definitely accurate. Could it be? Their gazes gradually turned to Anran. Don't think about it. If it were Anran, she wouldn't be sitting here, Zhao Xiaolei explained. Class 2 was also bustling. Yaxin, do you think Anran will be expelled this time? Yang King smiled. Probably, but I pity my sister. Yaxin spoke with a hint of sadness. She's not pitiful. We'll be happier without her. Guki smiled, waiting for the principal to announce the expelling of Anran. Chapter 226, It's Them. Yaxin posted on the school forums early on the news that Anran was going to be expelled. Her words laced with sadness. Sis, there is still a long way to go, and setbacks will pass. You will have to lead a good life after leaving Wrong City University. This attracted the attention of many people, and a large number of students flooded into the comments section. Most of them believed Yan Yaxin. After all, she was Anran's sister, so her words must be true. Many people flooded into Yaxin's post saying malicious things. Leave, vanity monster. You rascal, your face and actions are completely different. Anran didn't care about these things. She was waiting for Yaxin to be embarrassed. The principal's voice was heard over the radio at this time. Students, we have caught the students who stole the test papers. I gave you the chance, but you didn't cherish it, so don't blame me for being merciless. The principal turned off the radio after speaking. He was a little disappointed that the name they had been waiting for hadn't been exposed. Yaxin, why do I have a bad feeling? Yang King's right eyelid kept twitching and she was a little nervous. What's there to be afraid of? It's not you. Guki mocked her for being timid. The next second, the principal appeared in Class 2's office. Yang King and Guki, come with me. They were both startled. Why was the principal looking for them? They trembled as they stood up and looked at Yaxon at the same time, but Yaxon pretended as though nothing had happened and didn't look into their eyes. What happened? Could it be them? The class broke into a discussion as they watched the two of them be taken away. A group of teachers in the office were watching Yanking and Gookie through the monitor. So it's the two of you. Why did you steal the test paper? The dean shouted. They were both startled. Dean, what are you saying? We're not the ones who stole the test papers. It's Anran. Yanking looked up and smiled. You're unrepentant. How dare you accuse someone else? Look carefully. Is that you in the monitor? The dean pulled them to the monitor. Yanking and Gookie saw it clearly. Yesterday night, they sneaked into the office to look for something, but they didn't know that they installed the surveillance cameras. Dean, I'm innocent. Anran asked us to do this. She said that it didn't help her, so she would find someone to kill us. Gookie burst into tears. Li Yu and the dean were both dumbfounded. Li Yu went to the classroom and called Anran over. Anran, what happened? They said that you instigated them. She didn't believe Anran would do such a thing. Anran looked soft and weak. She didn't seem like the type of person to do such a thing. I do not have any connections with them. I don't know about this. Yanking, Gookie, you're already in this state, and yet you're still trying to deny it? Friends should share both fortune and misfortune. If you're friends, why haven't your friend come over and shoulder the responsibility? Anran implied at Yaxon. They both knew that it wasn't worth it to shoulder the responsibility for Yaxon when she's hiding behind them and letting them defend her. If I testify, can you not punish us? Gookie raised her hand in fear. Gookie! Yanking looked up at her with a displeased expression. Tell me, I can lighten the punishment. The principal was solemn. It's Gookie, you want to be a traitor? Yanking questioned. Yanking, take a look. It isn't fair for us to become like this and for her to become a good student in peace. We are doing this for her sake. Why should we suffer here? Gookie cried. Yanking didn't say anything. I can tolerate you accusing me, but if word spreads, it'll stain on your arms. Who would dare to accept you as their students? Anran continued to attack their mentality, and Yanking wavered. She was right. This incident could become a stain, and she couldn't live with it forever. It's Yaxon. Yanking lowered her head. What? She's a good student in the school. Why would she let you steal the test papers? The principal was in disbelief. She also hates Anran, so we hit it off. Gookie lowered her head. Students like you don't prioritize your studies and are always scheming. The principal was heartbroken. Principal, we made a mistake and we'll never do it again. Please forgive us, Gookie begged humbly. Call Lan Yaxon over. The principal sighed. Coincidentally, Lan Yaxon walked over and asked Teacher what happened to my friends. She spoke innocently. Lan Yaxon, did you let Yanking and Gookie steal the test papers to frame Lan Anran? The principal asked solemnly. No, Principal. Anran is my sister. Why would I harm her? Yaxon spoke seriously. Her expression was so sincere that no one could tell it was fake. Yanking and Gookie were stunned. How could this be? Yaxon, that wasn't what you said back then. You said you hated Anran, and that's why we helped you. That's what you said back then, Yanking said agitatedly. Yanking, are you mistaken? Back then I was just fighting with my sister, and it wasn't to the extent of framing her. Yaxon spoke seriously. Chapter 227, Drawing a Line. What, you stole the test papers with us? You kept an eye outside. How could you not admit it? Gookie cried. What are you talking about? When did I steal the test papers with you guys? I didn't do it. Yaxon desperately tried to clear her name, and the two of them panicked. How could you lie? You agreed when we wanted to steal the test papers. How could you not admit it? Yanking cried as she pulled Yaxon. I didn't know about this at all. You can't drag me into this. She is my sister. Although we aren't on good terms before, it wasn't to the extent of framing her. Why are you framing her? Yaxon started to cry as she spoke. Yaxon, we framed Ayn Rand because of you. But now you are drawing a line? We have no reason to flame her. Gookie looked at the principal angrily and cried, I really didn't know. You can't accuse me. I wouldn't have agreed to it if I had known. You can't treat me and my sister like this. Just admit it. Yaxon pulled Ayn Rand and said, Yaxon, are you sure this has nothing to do with you? Ayn Rand shook off Yaxon's hand and asked, Of course, why would I harm you? I have always been studying at home and have never been at school to steal test papers. Yaxon, we did it to help you. Yanking was furious. She originally thought she was helping a friend, but never expected to be actually helping a poisonous snake. Help me? I didn't need your help. You want to harm my sister? Principal, expel them. Yaxon said the most heartless words to her two close friends. See, true friends are revealed in times of needs. This is your good friend. Ayn Rand smiled and said, Sis, what are you saying? You think I did it too? Yaxon was a little upset and asked, We saw Yang King and Gookie in the surveillance camera, but not Lan Yaxon. The principal looked at the surveillance camera. Yang King finally understood. Yaxon had always been using her while she hid in the back to be the victor. They were all cannon fodder. Sis, you have to believe me. I didn't do it. I don't know why they accuse me. I'm usually on good terms with them. But I never allowed them to frame you. Sis, you have to believe me, Yaxon cried. At this point, she had to act well. It was because if she only lost these two pieces of trash. Ayn Rand just smiled. She knew very well that this was just an act. In her past life, she acted very well and even deceived her. She wasn't foolish this time. I believe you. Of course I believe you, Ayn Rand smiled and said. Ayn Rand, you still believe her? Can't you see what happened to us? You'll regret this. Yang King wiped her tears and said, Principal, Director, let us go. We won't dare to do it again, Gookie begged. The principal frowned and said after a while, Lan Yaxon, go back first. Don't talk about this. Thank you, Principal. Yaxon wiped her tears and walked out. Her expression changed in a second. Previously, she looked miserable, like a pure blossom bathed in rain, but now her gaze became vicious. Lan Ayn Rand, since you are still innocent, I'll definitely clear your name. You should go back. The principal sighed. You too. I'm going to have to deal with this seriously. Call your parents. This is serious. You might even get expelled. The principal sighed. Expel? No, I don't want to be expelled. I want to go to school. Gookie knelt down in tears. You have to pay for your mistakes. The dean was solemn. Dean, principal, even though this is a stain, they're still students, and I hope that the punishment will be light. Ayn Rand spoke suddenly. You don't blame them? The principal nudged his glasses. They should already know their mistakes. Besides, I don't care about what the others think. Ayn Rand's magnanimity impressed the principal. Good. The principal smiled. Since that's the case, even though Ayn Rand pleaded on your behalf, punishment is necessary. You must apologize to Lan Ayn Rand. You'll be withdrawing from the experimental class on your own accord for a month during this test. I will hold you accountable for the parent-teacher incident, and will forgive you if you perform well in the future. The principal continued. Thank you, Principal, thank you. Gookie was excited. You should be thanking Lan Ayn Rand, the dean said. Dean, you haven't apologized to me. Ayn Rand spoke to the dean. You, Teacher Zhao, you have to apologize. You should apologize for maligning someone. As a teacher, you can't go back on your words, the principal said. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, Lan Ayn Rand, the dean spoke. It's all right. Lan Ayn Rand walked out of the office happily. You're still so happy after being exposed? A classmate said. How shameless. Chapter 228, Apology. At this moment, a loudspeaker rang in the broadcast room. Students, we have resolved the matter of the stolen test papers, and this matter is resolved. The culprit isn't Lan Ayn Rand, so don't slander her. A student's mission is to study, so don't scheme. This is a school, not a place for you to scheme. Take this as a warning. The principal's words cleared Ayn Rand's name, but the other two were in a miserable state. Needless to say, everyone knew it was them. After school, Jackson spoke in the school's forum. Sis, this is a misunderstanding. We're still family. Ayn Rand felt like vomiting when he saw this. Who is family with her? Disgusting. Sis, how did you do it? Ayn Rand ran out of the school and got into the car with Ayn Rand. It's simple. The culprit panicked when she thought that she had dropped something and would definitely come back to get it. Otherwise, she would have never exposed herself. Wouldn't she be walking right into a trap if we placed a net over her? But I'm not that happy that someone escaped. Ayn Rand sighed with regret. Jackson is full of wicked ideas. How could she come up with such a wicked idea and make her two good friends take the blame? She's so wicked, Ayn Rand cursed. She never had any real friends, Ayn Rand sighed. Back at home, she saw Mojin Rong and Mo San sitting in the Lan family's living room. What are you doing here? Ayn Rand asked curiously. Mo San coughed a couple times, signaling to Ayn Rand that he was Mojin Rong. Zhao Xunmi sat in the living room staring at Mo San in silence. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Grandma, you're awake again? Are you hungry? I'll make you some soup. Ayn Rand walked over and asked deliberately. I'm not hungry. Young Master Mo is here. You should have greeted him, but don't mind if I say something. Since you're divorced, why are you still here? Zhao Xunmi looked at Mo San angrily. Based on what old Mrs. Lan said, do you still want to eat tonight after breakfast? Mojin Rong replied. What has me talking to your young master got to do with you? Young Master Mo, is this how you discipline your servants? Zhao Xunmi retorted immediately. Grandma, this is the Mo family style. Do you have a problem with that? Mo San replied. Ayn Rand suppressed her laughter. The old thing was embarrassed. Zhao Xunmi was at a loss for words. You and Ayn Rand are divorced. Are you trying to get back together? No way. Ayn Rand already has a boyfriend and the school is in an uproar. You're too late. Zhao Xunmi spoke deliberately. Grandma, you're mistaken. He is my classmate. Ayn Rand explained, not sure if Mojin Rong believed her. Boyfriend? Mo San stared at Ayn Rand in disbelief. She turned to look at Mojin Rong. His gaze was murderous. No, Grandma is sick and remembered wrongly. We're just classmates. Ayn Rand's feeble explanation didn't win Mojin Rong's trust. We're here today to visit Uncle and Aunt Lan and explain the incident from before. Mo San continued. You can go back since they aren't around. You're not welcomed here. Zhao Xunmi couldn't bear to see Ayn Rand have any good things. She wanted to rip her apart and ruin the marriage. Oh, Mrs. Lan, you don't seem to be very welcoming here, right? Aren't you enjoying yourself? You didn't have a say in whether we're welcomed or not. Mo San spoke swiftly. This is my son's house. Of course I called shots. Look at how ugly you are. Do you still want to be an old ox eating young grass? I'm telling you. You are a toad lusting over a swan meat. I'm telling you, you're not welcomed here. Zhao Xunmi seemed to have forgotten how she had given Ayn Rand to Mojin Rong. Now she only wanted to break them up. She couldn't bear to see Ayn Rand lead a good life. I'm ugly? You look like a toad, and yet you have the cheek to scold me? You have a fierce face and a skinny frame, making you look like an old monster from the Black Mountain. You have some cheek to scold me. Do you have no shame? Mo San couldn't help lashing out when he heard others calling him ugly. Mojin Rong was expressionless. Outrageous. I'm about to die and you're still provoking me? You want to marry my granddaughter? In your dreams. Zhao Xunmi was furious as well. She slapped her wheelchair furiously. Ha! You're not the one I'm going to marry. How could you control me? Aren't you going to die? Mo San continued to attack her. Zhao Xunmi was furious, while Ayn Rand suppressed her laughter. She had enjoyed the show today. You, how dare you curse me? Wait for Ting Young to come back. He'll never let you marry Ayn Rand. Zhao Xunmi had decided to stop him. What a poor upbringing. Young master, come down, Mojin Rong reminded him. Afterwards, Young and Lee Euro came back from the hospital and smelled the scent of war the moment they entered the house. "What's wrong, Mom? You don't look well." Young bent down next to her wheelchair. "The Mo family really doesn't teach their people well. How dare Mo Jinrong curse me? He's outrageous," Zhao Shimi complained. "Oh, Mrs. Lan, don't be talking nonsense. I didn't." Mo San hurriedly denied it. "Why don't you admit it?" Zhao Shimi was furious. Chapter 229. Did he eat wrongly? Ayn Rand, what happened? Ting Young asked. Grandma wanted to chase them away, but they didn't leave, so she flared up and scolded them, Ayn Rand explained. Mo San was stunned. Was Ayn Rand trying to anger her grandma to death? "Mom, why are you like this?" Ting Young asked softly. I didn't! Zhao Shimi couldn't explain it well. Ayn Rand, take Grandma upstairs, Ting Young spoke. Zhao Shimi was pushed upstairs by Ayn Rand agreeably. Young Master Mo, tell us, what exactly happened between you and Ayn Rand? Ting Young sat down. Uncle Lan, it's like this. I was in the wrong the last time. We had a batch of ready-made clothes and I wanted to use them to see the effects and let the models wear them to walk around the company. However, Ayn Rand misunderstood and I was furious. Later on, I realized that I was in the wrong, and after calming down, I made up to Ayn Rand. I was busy with work and didn't have time to come over, so I came to apologize. Mo San took responsibility for everything. He had thought about these lines for a long time. You are too impulsive. Do you think marriage is simple? You guys divorce so easily. Ayn Rand is only 20 years old. If she's divorced, she'll become a second-time married woman. What will happen to her in the future? Ting Young asked. Jinrong, I am not criticizing you, but you were indeed too impulsive in this matter. You are married, and even though the outside world has gossiped about you, we don't despise you. But Ayn Rand is a 20-year-old student, so it isn't right for you to do this. I've discussed this with Ting Young. If Ayn Rand can't live happily in the Mo family and suffers, you should let her return to the Lan family. Our daughter can't suffer, the Euro spoke sincerely. It took you so long to apologize. It's useless to talk to Ayn Rand. You need to talk to us. You can't bully my daughter whenever you want, Ting Young spoke. Ayn Rand was extremely touched. She wiped her tears and smiled. Mom, Dad, I'm alright. Jinrong and I are just throwing a tantrum. It's nothing serious. You're divorced and you're still fine? The Euro was furious. Mo Jinrong, don't you think that Ayn Rand is so easily bullied just because she grew up in the countryside? Ting Young spoke. No, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I definitely won't make Ayn Rand angry again, Mo San promised. He felt bitter. These were Mo Jinrong's lines. Why was he getting scolded? That's for the best. Marriage isn't a joke. The next time you're irrational, I'd rather keep Ayn Rand by my side forever than let you marry her and make her suffer. Liero hugged Ayn Rand. Okay, it won't happen again. Mo San nodded. Are you guys staying for dinner? Liero then asked. It's alright. We still have to go back to the company. Mo San waved his hand. It would be even more awkward if they had stayed. Mom, Dad, I'll send them off. Ayn Rand took the initiative. When Ting Young saw his daughter's happy expression, he knew that she was going to get back together with Mo Jinrong. After sending them to the door, Mo Jinrong spoke. I'll trouble you to have a simple private life. Don't forget your identity as the young lady of the Mo family. No, he really is my classmate. Ayn Rand looked at Mo Jinrong and saw that he was jealous, so she explained. I don't care if it's Qin Taiyan or any other male student. I hope you won't tarnish the name of the Mo family. Mo Jinrong got into the car after speaking and Mo San drove off. Young master, you... Clear the gossip about Lan Ayn Rand. Mo Jinrong tugged at his tie and said, Got it, young master. The Lan family doesn't seem to like us. Mo San could feel it. You just realized? It wasn't easy for Ting Young and his wife to bring her back from the countryside. Of course they would treat her well. Young master, you can do the next job apologizing and getting scolded. It's too tiring. Mo San spoke tiredly. What, you don't want to work anymore? Mo Jinrong spoke softly. No, young master, old Mrs. Land doesn't look ill. She's very energetic in an argument. Mosan thought about it. All cancer patients were weak. How could this old lady quarrel with him? She didn't seem ill at all. Anran probably came up with a rotten idea and lied to old Mrs. Land. Mojang thought about it. Miss Land is so capable, Mosan praised. How is the laboratory? Mojang looked out the window. According to the direction Miss Land provided, we are developing in a stable direction. It seems to be much more stable now. Previously, it was too harsh, Mosan said. Then let's continue. There are already people rushing the medicine in the black market. The medicine for the heart disease last time only cured the symptoms, and the supply is still low. I hope that it will be thorough this time. Mojang spoke softly. Don't worry, young master. If it doesn't work out, there is still Miss Land. She will definitely have a plan. I just think that Miss Land is a ruthless person. She seems to know everything. What a little genius, Mosan praised. You admire her? Mojang questioned with a hint of jealousy in his voice. No. I was just thinking that she's very capable and I'm just envious. Speaking of which, are you jealous? Mosan smiled and asked. Chapter 230. It was you. Would I be jealous of her? Mojang asked softly. Young master, I can tell that Miss Land likes you and that you have feelings for her. Don't try to hide it. Mosan smiled as he spoke. Is it that obvious? Mojang was perplexed. Of course. Young master, are you admitting that you like the young madam? Mosan looked at Mojang in the rearview mirror with a smile. You're a little talkative today, Mojang spoke softly. Did he really like that countryside girl? Mosan immediately shut up. The midterm exam was held again, and Yang King and Guki had to leave the experimental class as punishment. They went to the ordinary class to attend lessons and had to clean the stairs alone every day. Yaxen. Yang King was furious at the mention of this name. Don't mention her name in front of him. I hate her. Guki was disgusted. Just then, Yaxen came down the stairs and saw two people sweeping the floor. And Yaxen, why did you harm us when we have been helping you? Yang King was straightforward. Yang King, Guki, I'm sorry. I was too scared. I didn't admit it. Yaxen was apologetic. So you want us to be your scapegoats? Yang King was furious. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? Yaxen lowered her head, looking guilty. Forgive you? Because of this? We became thieves in everyone's eyes. We were only trying to help you, but you just left us alone. Guki was furious when she saw Yaxen. Help me? Did I ask you to help me? You did it voluntarily and you screwed it up. I never asked you to help me. Yaxen started to get angry. Forget it. It's useless to talk to such a heartless person. It's disgusting. Yang King pulled Guki away. You should sweep the floor properly. It hasn't been cleaned yet. Yaxen deliberately threw a ball of paper at Yang King's feet, provoking her. How did you become like this? Aren't we important to you anymore? Weren't we your best friends? Guki couldn't believe how Yaxen had become such a cold-blooded person. Friends? I, Lan Yaxen, have never lacked friends. I have plenty of useless trash like you. Yaxen walked down the stairs. When Yang King heard this, she wished she could kick her down the stairs. This is too much. We even treated her as a friend. We must have been blind. Guki scolded herself angrily. Have you seen properly now? Anran suddenly appeared behind Yang King. Anran, don't think that we will thank you just because you let us go. If you want to mock us, just say it. Yang King had great animosity for Anran's animosity. She wouldn't have ended up like this if it weren't for her. Who said I let you go? Anran spoke leisurely. Now that we're in this state, what else do you want? Your understanding in front of the teacher was just an act. You're as disgusting as Yaxen. Guki cursed. We're different. As the saying goes, an enemy's enemy is their friend. Are you and Yaxen's enemy now? Anran smiled and said, We're not friends anymore. Are you trying to rope us in? Yang King looked at Anran angrily. I never roped anyone over. I just wanted to let you know how miserable you are. Ayn Rand left after speaking. Yang King, there isn't a single good person in the Lan family, Guki spoke fiercely. Yaxin will get her retribution. If we don't deal with her, Ayn Rand won't let her off, right? Let's wait and see. Yang King clenched her fists tightly. Back in the classroom, Zhao Xiaolei whispered, Ayn Rand, are those photos of you and Lin Cheng that were posted in the school forum true? Did he really woo you successfully? It's fake. Ayn Rand spoke calmly. Fake? Then why has Lin Cheng been so well behaved recently and stopped chasing you? Zhao Xiaolei looked at Lin Cheng, who was sleeping on the table. He didn't seem to be jumping up and down to seek revenge like he had in the past few days. I don't know. Ayn Rand didn't need to think and knew that Lin Cheng was involved, but he might be an indirect accomplice, so she didn't pursue the matter. Lin Cheng, who was lying on the table, was thinking about how to deal with Yaxin. How dare she deceive him? He stood up and looked for Yaxin angrily. Lan Yaxin, come out. Lin Cheng shouted at the entrance of Class 2. Lin Cheng, what do you want? Yaxin walked out calmly. What's the matter? You know it yourself. Why did you lie to me? Lin Cheng questioned. I didn't lie to you. I said I would give you a chance to be a hero and save the beauty, but you didn't grasp it. When everyone was accusing Ayn Rand, you didn't do anything. Are you blaming me? Yaxin smiled. You dare to use me to deal with Ayn Rand? You must be tired of living. I'll get someone to beat you up again, Lin Cheng said furiously. It was you. When Yaxin heard this, she was furious. She didn't expect it to be him.